You know, there's a reason Sarah never stays home alone anymore. And it's not because of ghosts or monsters. It's because of something much worse. Something real. Let me tell you what happened. It was a cold Friday evening in November. The kind of night where the wind feels sharp and mean, where the streetlights flicker like they're tired of trying. Sarah had just gotten home from a 12-hour shift at the hospital. She worked nights, mostly long, quiet hours with the smell of antiseptic and coffee keeping her company. Her little apartment sat at the edge of town, a small, cozy place she'd rented for 2 years. It wasn't much, but it was hers, and usually, she loved the silence that came with living alone. Usually, that night, though something about the silence felt different. It wasn't peaceful, it was heavy, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Her hands shook as she dialed Emma. Her voice came out as a whisper. Emma, someone's texting me. They said my door. Call the police. Emma interrupted. Right now. Don't hang up. But before Sarah could, she heard something. Breathing. Deep. Slow. Steady. Coming from inside her closet. Her throat went dry. She grabbed the kitchen knife from her nightstand. She'd brought it after the door incident. The breathing stopped. Step by step, she crept toward the closet. Her heart was beating so loud she thought whoever was inside could hear it. She reached for the handle and pulled. The door swung open. Nothing. Just clothes. Shoes. A faint smell of sweat and something else. Something stale, like food left out too long. She backed away, trembling. When the police arrived 20 minutes later, they checked everything. No signs of forced entry. No footprints. No one in the apartment. One officer suggested she might be dreamed it. Long hours. High stress. It happens, he said kindly. They left her a card, just in case. And when the door clicked shut behind them, Sarah felt more alone than ever. She turned, scanning the room, and that's when she saw it. Under the bed, half hidden in the shadows, a half-eaten sandwich. Her breath caught. She hadn't eaten since the hospital. The next morning, she called her landlord. Mr. Dalton, a kind older man, came right over. He checked the locks, the windows, the vents, everything. Finally, he sighed. I'll take a look in the attic, he said. Could be an animal? Sarah waited downstairs, pacing. She could hear him moving around above the ceiling. Then, his voice, low, shaky. Oh my God. Her heart dropped. What is it? Silence. Then, Sarah called the police. Now, when the officers returned, they climbed into the attic. What they found made even them go quiet. There were blankets spread out, old food wrappers, empty water bottles, a nest, basically, and a small hole in the drywall, leading into the building's crawl space. Someone had been living up there for weeks. They found him, crouched behind a support beam, a thin, wild-eyed man with greasy hair and cracked hands. When they pulled him out, he smiled at Sarah, a smile that didn't reach his eyes. I liked watching you, he said quietly. You looked calm when you watched movies. Sarah couldn't speak. She just stood there as they handcuffed him and led him away. But before he ducked into the police car, he turned his head and said something else. I wasn't alone. The officer walking beside him frowned. What do you mean? The man just grinned, asked the one behind the door. Later that day, one of the officers came back to talk to Sarah. He looked uneasy. We checked the attic, he said. There were 2 sets of footprints. Sarah stared at him, waiting for him to laugh, to tell her it was a mistake. He didn't. She tossed her bag on the couch, slipped off her shoes, and hung her keys on the hook by the door. The same hook she always used. Habit made her double-check the lock. She jiggled the handle. Solid. She'd done it 1,000 times. Locked. Safe. Or so she thought. The apartment felt colder than usual, so she put on her thick socks and shuffled to the kitchen. The hum of the refrigerator and the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock were the only sounds. Tick, tick, tick. She filled the kettle, waiting for it to boil. Steam curled upward as she scrolled through her phone, catching up on messages. Her friend Emma had texted, "You home yet?" "Yeah," Sarah replied. "Just got in. Dead tired. Don't forget to lock your door," Emma wrote. Sarah smiled. "Always do." She made herself some tea, turned on a quiet playlist, and headed to the shower. The hot water hit her shoulders and washed away the day. For the first time in hours, she let herself breathe. Outside the bathroom door, something creaked, just once, like weight shifting on an old floorboard. Sarah froze, water dripping down her face. She turned off the shower and listened. Silence. She told herself it was nothing. Old building, creaky floors, whatever. She stepped out, wrapped in a towel, and padded down the hall. And that's when she saw it. The front door, wide open. Not all the way, just a few inches, but enough. Sarah's breath hitched. She remembered locking it. She always locked it. Her keys were still on the hook. The chain was dangling loose. For a long time, She didn't move, just stared. Maybe she hadn't shut it all the way. Maybe the wind caught it. Still, her hands were shaking when she closed it again. This time, she locked it twice. Then she shoved a chair under the handle, just to be sure. She laughed nervously to herself. "I'm being ridiculous," she whispered. "I'm just tired." But what she didn't notice was the faint shadow moving behind her bedroom door. Hours passed. She sat on the couch, trying to distract herself with a movie, but she couldn't shake the unease. Every creak in the building made her flinch. Around midnight, she went to bed. Rain tapped softly against the window. Her phone glowed on the nightstand. 12:07 a.m. She closed her eyes. Then, thump. Her eyes snapped open. That sound didn't come from outside. It came from above. Maybe the neighbors. No. Sarah lived on the top floor. She held her breath. Creak. Slow. Deliberate. Like footsteps on old wood. She sat up, staring at the ceiling. It was quiet for a moment. Then, tap. Right above her. The next time she opened her eyes, her phone was buzzing. The clock read 3:17 a.m. One new message. An unknown number. It said, "You forgot to lock the door again." Sarah's stomach dropped. She looked at the door. Still locked. Chair still wedged tight. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat in bed, lights on, knife in her lap, staring at the ceiling. Every small sound made her jump. A pipe rattling, the heater clicking on. Each noise sent her heart racing. Around 2 a.m. she heard it again. Creak. Soft. Slow. Directly above her. She turned her eyes toward the ceiling vent. And this time, she saw it. Something moved. Something small and pale. A hand. It disappeared almost instantly. Now, every night before Sarah goes to bed, she checks every door, every window. She replaced the locks, bought cameras, even moved her bed to the opposite wall. But sometimes she still hears it. That faint creaking sound from above. Sometimes, she feels warm air blowing from the vent, like someone's exhaling. And every once in a while, when she checks her phone before sleeping, she sees it. A new message, always from an unknown number. "You forgot to lock the door again." The man behind the door. "Be careful tonight, because someone might be watching you too, waiting for you to forget to lock your door."